When you first play the game, vehicle modifications probably don't mean anything to you. Heck, some of you may not have even noticed they existed. All reserve tanks and aircraft come with the important modifications already unlocked, and tanks in rank 1 have very low research and silver costs for modifications. In your first few games in low rank vehicles, you will probably be able to research several modifications, and there's not much difference anyway between an unmodified and fully modified vehicle at these ranks. But then, you get to the mid ranks. At this point, you've realized that the game is way more grindy than you anticipated, and it will probably take a very long time before you get that sweet MiG-29 or Abrams you were aiming for. Also, moments like these are gonna happen more and more often. Okay, now for some terminology. Modifications are these little upgrades that you can research that slightly increase the repair cost of your vehicle, but in exchange, improve it in some way. Some modifications increase survivability, others increase mobility, and some improve firepower. A stock vehicle is a vehicle that does not have any modifications unlocked. A spaded vehicle is a vehicle that has all modifications unlocked. It's called that because the little spade icon appears over vehicles that you have fully modified. The process of spading a vehicle, or unlocking all its modifications, is commonly referred to as the stock grind. So what's the problem with the stock grind? When you research and purchase a vehicle, you receive its stock with no modifications. The problem with stock vehicles is that they're shit. Stock tanks won't be able to repair damaged modules without the parts modification, and many tanks will not get high penetration shells until they research the required modification. Stock aircraft will have significantly worse performance compared to spaded aircraft. They don't have suspended weaponry unless you research those modifications, and are less survivable. The other problem with stock vehicles is that in order to research the modifications that make the vehicle good, you need to get research points using that vehicle. But since you don't have the modifications yet, you suck and you can't get any kills. In the low and mid ranks, the stock grind is just a slight nuisance that bothers you for the first couple of games and then goes away. For tanks, it might only take you a few thousand research to unlock parts and a few thousand more to unlock FPE, and after that, your vehicle is much more survivable and you won't have too much difficulty grinding out the rest of the modifications. At some point though, you get to high tier, and then the stock grind goes from a minor nuisance to a huge detriment to your enjoyment of the game. I know I used some very big words there, but in simple English, playing stock vehicles is not fun. Oh look, now my gun barrel's destroyed, but since I don't have parts, I can't repair it, so I'm gonna spend the rest of the game sitting here with a gun that doesn't work, hoping that one of my teammates will be kind enough to lend me some of their spare parts. Wow, this is so enjoyable. Engaging War Thunder gameplay right here. I am having so much fun. Playing stock tanks feels amazing. Thank you Gaijin for making this game even harder than it already is. And then, you get to top tier, the highest ranks in War Thunder. I grinded War Thunder for years to get to this point. I finally unlocked the F4 Phantom. So, as it turns out, stock jets don't have access to missiles, chaff, or suspended weaponry. Those are all modifications that have to be grinded out for tens of thousands of research points each. Yes, that's right. If you want to fire your super cool radar homing missiles from your state-of-the-art F4 Phantom, then you have to first research this modification, and then research two modifications from this row, and then research this modification, and then you'll have a radar missile that's not very good and is very easy to dodge. If you want the real radar missile that's actually pretty good, you have to get two more modifications from this row before finally researching this modification and getting the beautiful radar missile you wanted. In total, you'll have played like 100 games in this thing before you get to that point. It's gonna take you hours and hours of painful grind, and even after that, there's still several really important modifications like chaff and G-suits that you need to research before your plane becomes as good as the YouTubers said it would be. The F4E costs 350,000 research points to unlock, which took me about 3 months to get. But unlocking all the modifications for the F4E cost 500,000 research points. So even though I researched the F4E after almost 2 years of grinding the US tech tree, my journey is not over yet. In fact, it's barely started. There's still 500,000 more research left to go. Do you think the stock grind for aircraft is bad? Well, that's nothing compared to how it is for top tier tanks. Your stock ammunition is so bad, it can't pen the T-80 anywhere, and even if it does somehow manage to penetrate, it's barely gonna do any damage to whatever's inside. Explain to me how I'm supposed to make the 50,000 research points required to get parts and better ammunition if I'm playing a Leopard 2 without parts and better ammunition. It's possible, sure, but if you don't spend golden eagles, you're going to be playing for hours, suffering in a terrible vehicle that can't kill anything, and hating yourself forever downloading this game. Okay, this isn't entirely a video about how Gaijin sucks. I'm going to give them credit where credit is due. Gaijin have made a number of changes in the past couple of months that significantly improved the stock grind experience. Some top tier aircraft now get missile stock, albeit bad missiles. Top tier aircraft also get IR countermeasure stock, although chaff still needs to be researched as a modification. And finally, probably the best change of all, and something that I touched on in a previous video, Gaijin gave all tanks one fire extinguisher stock, so now, if you get set on fire in a stock vehicle, you can put it out pretty quickly. The FPE modification does still help by giving you multiple fire extinguishers in case you get set on fire multiple times in a match, so I still recommend you research it anyway. These changes are definitely a step in the right direction, but it's still frustrating to play stock vehicles and have to grind out all the other modifications. In conclusion, the stock grind is bad, and Gaijin should do something to make it easier. I genuinely don't see any drawbacks to Gaijin's income if they just got rid of modifications, or at the very least reduce the research costs required for modifications in high rank vehicles. It would definitely make the game far more enjoyable. Anyways, as annoying as the stock grind is, I do still want to sling AIM-7 radar missiles at oblivious targets and watch them explode before they even see me. So, I will be stock grinding the F4E over the next few weeks, and when I'm done, I'll release a video documenting my suffering. I'll give you some tips for stock grinding, steal kills from my squad mates, and hopefully grind out the modifications. If you think you'll enjoy watching me suffer fighting F-16s in a stock Phantom, go check that video out when I upload it. Cheers!